Games about sentient robots are getting a bit boring. One of the few branches of science fiction gaming that embrace artificial intelligence and androids are the ones that focus on evil antagonist robots that are against humanity. A more recent spin on the genre are games like Detroit Become Human, which present empathetic robots to subvert those villainous expectations, having players follow artificial characters that act just like humans would. But they're robots, aren't they? It's weird how Detroit Become Human decides to interpret how a robot would become empathetic, because it's just not how artificial intelligence even works. Even if a game doesn't demonize artificial intelligence, these games still revolve around the human mind, ignoring clear differences in artificial consciousness in order for players to sympathize better with impossibly human machines. With superior bodies, superhuman abilities, and advanced minds, their point of suffering in these games comes only from their lack of ability to be a human in the eyes of actual humans. But what about the robotic condition itself? Can the exploration of robotic struggle only come from its comparison to humans and their struggles? I believe the game Endless Dark challenges this repetitive motif by following the story of an unstable blue-collared robot, and by doing so is able to better immerse players in the much more interesting question of what it actually means to be a robot. The foundation of this game is crafted to be very depressing and very down to earth. There are no impossible powers or societal respect here. The player controls a robot designated as a temporary custodian, taking care of a crumbling spaceship transporting 12 humans in cryopods. The robot is marked as temporary because, as if by design, it falls apart just as quickly as the ship it desperately tries to repair. Both the uncaring story and dystopian setting make it clear that the main character is no overcapable robot like in most traditional media. It's only a sentient cog in a botched machine. The player only has a limited amount of parts and energy that they can use to fix the many things that are wrong with the ship. To name a few, we got the engines, the thrusters, the navigation, the shields, the door system, the cryopods, observation deck, and even the robot's own command deck and charging port. There is so much to fix, and the ship's AI actively works against you. So every brutal choice you make, every person you have to sacrifice, and every fight you're forced to lose feels inevitable rather than evil. The player begins to think just as rationally as a machine would, because there's no room to be emotional and merciful. You have to think in the long term to make it through your journey and get some of those sweet, sweet points. But the custodian robot you play isn't a machine. For one, they don't care about the points that you get for playing the game. But also, for some reason, the robot was given a mind that can properly suffer under its poor conditions. It grieves every incompatible, short-term decision that the player makes. This specific ride you're watching right now was brought to you by Robbie, the most compliant and obedient android in the custodian lineup. He strives to be as helpful as he possibly can and struggles with perfectionism. Haha, relatable, am I right? He's the ideal worker, and his can-do attitude makes it easy to like him. Even the look of him is very stereotypical of a humanized robot, his only human feature being a screen with a happy face on it and mechanical arms on either side. It's a great design for humans to be empathetic towards, not too much like a human to be threatening, while also containing the most important thing that humans need to relate to something: a face with recognizable emotions. But even if the player likes him, neither the game nor the ship he struggles to repair do. As the game continues, the player and the robot custodian learn horrific truths about a situation, some that change how the game is played forever. On this trip, Robbie ends up finding a locked closet the ship refuses to give him access to. The player can decide to stubbornly continue trying to get the door open by sacrificing resources, energy, and time that's needed to survive just in order to open this door. Man, I hope this door is really cool. Oh, wow, I'm spending all of my gears on this door. Oh man, Robbie is so stressed out and I have so many tasks in my to-do list. But I'm sure that this door is gonna really give us something good to chew on. You hack the door and you learn... Oh, you learn some bad things. Robbie enters the room and stares at the piles of abandoned Robbies. Different versions of the custodian bot, with slight alterations and malfunctions stacked haphazardly inside the room. The player can do nothing but watch as the custodian desperately uses its failing processors to make sense of the horror in front of it. Oh, harvest them for spare parts? I'm sure that won't cause any problems. All that matters now is surviving to the end. All the mental trauma can come later. Scrambling for anything. Sacrificing every system to keep these people you don't even know alive. Taking on every insanity you can to keep the ship moving. The programmed destination has finally been reached. You earned like 90-ish points. Robbie earned... well, Robbie knows exactly where he's going. But he can only hope he'll remember this. He won't. But the player will. The fact is that the more you play, the more power you have over the past, present, and future of this robot you control. That power of knowledge leaves the player with more responsibility, and because of that clearer sense of responsibility, a player becomes even more sympathetic and perhaps a bit guilty when they mess up towards their protagonist. Humans instinctively wish to commit virtuous deeds in order to seem good, especially when they're what determines if the deed happens. And that inherent pressure can encourage greater empathy, registering as a meta-moral demand and a meta-virtue or a moral epistemic virtue. Instead of making these robot custodians the heroes, they're the victims in this game. And the player is the only one that can even try to save them. Almost all the usage of the sentient machine trope has been used to explore the uniqueness of humanity. Before, robots were unrealistically destructive villains who always had to oppose humans. Now, robots tend to be transformed from cold to basically human in order to get along with them. Both interpretations are quite limited as to the potential exploration of how artificial life can process the world around it. The science fiction and the horror genre are meant to magnify the active issues we face in the world, and from the beginning, robots are meant to represent more than just overlords. Robots were meant to parallel us, rather than oppose us or be us, especially in our current climate, when wages and workers' rights are dramatically unfair and many people feel as though they have to act as robots to live. The Endless Dark taps into a dread that no other game on the market is really able to replicate.